everybody, it's Charlie from DM Sound, and today we've got the sound system demo of the 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 6 and its 8-speaker Bose sound system. This is going to be an in-depth review. We're going to take a look at how the infotainment system works, take a look at audio inputs, adjustments, controls, and speaker locations. Then we're going to head out on the road and listen to these sample tracks while we're rolling, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end. Now, if you don't care about any of that stuff at the beginning and you just want to hear the music, click ahead in the video. We've got chapters to get you right to the tunes. And I recommend listening with headphones so that you can hear exactly what I hear in the driver's seat. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Entirely new model here, the Hyundai Ioniq 6. An efficient sedan set out to compete with the Tesla Model 3 and the Polestar 2, and takes the powertrain out of the Ioniq 5, which is more of a hatchback design, but more of a crossover, turns it into this very efficient and pretty cool looking, if a bit strange, sedan form. If you do want to see more in the car, check the link in the description. We've got a first drive review here, and then once we get it back at DM HQ, we'll do a range test and a full DM review. Now, we always do these tests with lossless, uncompressed WAV files on a USB stick plugged directly into the system, and high-quality Roland binaural microphones in both of my ears, giving you the most realistic audio system demo on YouTube. We also do the test with the sound settings set to their factory defaults, so let's take a look at those now. Two 12-inch screens in front of me, one for the instrument cluster and the other for our infotainment. It's all a touch screen. We do have some buttons down here as well to navigate through. We're in the media screen. We're going to go up here to sound settings. Choose that. First, you're greeted with a premium sound screen. First option is dynamic speed compensation. As you get going faster and there's more road noise and wind noise, the sound system's going to lift up elements of your music to compensate for that. We're going to turn that off because we want to hear, well, I guess we'll leave it on. We'll see what the system's capable of doing as we get going on the road. Then you have a startup volume limit. I quite appreciate this because if you're jamming out to music when you roll in at night, come out the next morning, you're all tired, you don't want to jam out, you're not going to be blasted with the same volume of music as you did when you let it off. Position, that's your front, rear, left, right, fader, and balance. Easy to move around. Focus on different parts of the vehicle or fine-tune it here. Put it right back to the center. Then tone, you've got treble, mid-range, and bass. Let's go through those. Is it for audio adjustments. Everything else simply applies to noise levels, sound levels, etc. For audio inputs in the new Ioniq 6, you have your standard AM, FM, Sirius XM satellite radio. A little bit important to point out AM radio because you don't always get those in electric vehicles. We have a USB-A port here, support for wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and of course Bluetooth streaming. So what does that mean you're missing? Well, there's no USB-C port for data. We've got some for charging around the vehicle, but no data. Also, no wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and that's frustrating to me. You're trying to be an industry leader here in technology, and you've still got wired only for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, check the link in the description if you want to buy a little adapter box for a car like this so that you can get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support when it's wired only, but still, I think it's unexcusable to have that in this category. And then no sort of streaming services built in either. No Spotify, no Pandora, anything like that. And no 3.5mm auxiliary input jack, but that's no big surprise. For audio controls in the Ioniq 6, you got a volume knob here. It's okay click. It's not the most satisfying feel. You've also got volume on the right side of the wheel. I do like having a scroller here. That works pretty well, and you can press it to mute. Very important to me. For track selection, this is a bit strange. You've got the touch screen if you're in the proper menu. Then you've got this little tuner rocker, which you'd think would cycle back and forth between your tracks, but that's not how it works. You can see when I press it, it actually goes to different elements of the touch screen, and then you can press down and click to actually choose the track. And if you're on a different menu, say your map, it toggles the zooming of the map, so there's no actual physical control for track. That's a bit of a bummer to me, but at least you have physical track controls right here on the steering wheel, right next to the volume control. Speaker locations. As I said, this is a 10-speaker system. Sorry, 8-speaker system. Man, I'm all over the place today. Right here, you've got a mid-ranger 1, tweeter 2, center mid-range 3, 4, 5. These might kind of be mid-bass speakers as well. Throw it in there. So there's 5 into the back. 6, 7 for sort of those mid-rangers on the door, and then a deck lid subwoofer making 8. All right, I'm gonna get this stuff put away so we can head out on the road. happy with the spatial aspects of the system. I'm getting a decent amount of envelopment, and the placement of the speakers seems to be pretty good. What I'm not loving is the upper mid-ranges are coming through with this hollow sound. And it's not to the point where they're harsh on your ears, but a lot of those snare drum hits and a lot of the guitar are coming through with a vagueness and a hollow echo type of sound up in the mid to highs that is not very accurate to how the song should sound. And what I suspect is you've got this middle speaker up here trying to do a lot of the mid-range work, and these down here are trying to sort of split this difference between this upper bass and higher bass and mid bass, and then also trying to handle the mid ranges as well. And it's a little too much for these speakers to do. For this next song, we'll turn the bass all the way up and see what we get from that deck lid subwoofer. Yeah, see, I'm getting too much coming from up here, and I'm not getting a full coming down from the depths below and swelling up under you sort of sensation from that subwoofer in the back, which is what you'd want to have in a track like this. I'm barely getting any sort of mirror shakeage. It's not a very satisfying bass. It's there for some songs, but that's not what you want from a higher end system. My thoughts on the 8-speaker Bose system here in the Hyundai Ioniq 6. At the end of the day, it does do what a system like this sets out to do, and that's to sound better than your standard system. For most people, you're going to be satisfied enough cranking up most types of music with this sound system, or if you're more of a talk radio, podcast sort of person, it's going to come through pretty well because the spatial imaging is pretty good. It's nice in front of you, you got the center speakers and the tweeters and everything. Nothing about the system is offensive, it's just not super accurate. When you're listening to songs that you've heard many, many times before, you're not going to get really satisfying aspects, the meat and potatoes, as I like to say, of your songs coming through. You're not going to feel it in your soul, but at the same time, you can listen to it loud and it's not going to be harsh in your ears either. So I'm coming in at a low B. It's going to be a B system overall, meaning it's above average, but not really any sort of a wow factor there. I think throwing a few extra speakers, let some door woofers take care of more of the low ends, and then bring more of your high end out of here, you'd be doing a little better. But all things considered, decent for sort of that lower end EV price. Now when you're talking $57,000 for this limited trim, you could do a bit better. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Ioniq 6, check the link in the description for our first drive review, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from DM Sound, and as always, drive on.